Yeah, because now we are officially talking all Browns for the next little bit. And when we do talk all Browns, it's sponsored by Cuyahoga Community College. Tri-C supports their students financially, professionally, personally, opening up the doors to endless possibilities. Tri-C is where the future starts, and it's already begun. You still have time to join. You have till tomorrow to register. Tomorrow, Friday, last day to register for classes this semester. Tri-C, Cuyahoga Community College. That's where it's at.
I feel like, I know some people do say Cuyahoga, but I feel like we're now, like, remember when Tyrod Taylor came here? And then all of a sudden it was like his mother said his real name's Tyrod.
Yeah.
And then people
that.
had to like call him Tyrod, and it was awkward because we've been calling him Tyrod for like 10 years.
His name is Tyrod.
No, I know that, but like why didn't he correct us when he was a rookie? Why did he wait like 10 years into his career?
No one asked him.
Remember when Mitch Trubisky all of a sudden wanted to be called Mitchell?
Yeah, no.
And it's like, no, we're already locked in on Mitch. Well, I'm already locked in on Cuyahoga. It may be Cuyahoga is the correct pronunciation, but I'm locked in.
How did I say
I'm
it
pot
today?
committed.
Did I do it right today, Bull? I'm
No,
so
you
far
said
in my own head.
Cuyahoga.
You said Cuyahoga, didn't you?
Haga. You said Haga.
Yeah, you
I'm
said-
so far in my own head that
Yeah, you are.
I don't know what I'm going to say. It just
Oh,
comes
by
out.
the way, an update, because we were talking about James Earl Jones, and
Yes.
he voiced this
Yes.
documentary about the river. So I actually reached out to
Caliendo.
I think the best impersonation guy on the planet, Frank Caliendo. And
Yeah, you read your text to him yesterday.
I was afraid that this would be, he said, man, he's tough to do.
Yeah.
And he says, it's hard to do because it's a smooth, deep voice.
That's a hard
And I don't
yeah.
have it. Yeah. I imagine if you had it, you could go make, his minimum fee is $2 million.
There's got to be, doing an impression of James Earl Jones has got to be near impossible.
I mean, I would take Frank Caliendo doing Morgan Freeman for the show.
Well, he does Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, he does.
Spot on.
When he does Morgan Freeman, you think you're listening to Morgan
Absolutely.
Freeman.
Most of his impressions, you think you're listening
So
to that
It's
guy.
his birthday today, Jay.
He's
Do you know
good.
that?
It's Frank's birthday?
Yeah, you should wish him happy birthday.
Well, I will wish him a happy birthday. I still think we'd want him on the show.
Yes.
His
Is
wife,
that yes?
his
Absolutely.
wife is from here.
Yes. That's not a
Really?
question.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman, whoever. We just take Frank as Frank. We'd love to have him on the
Absolutely.
show.
He married a local girl. He had a house in Avon Lake. I don't know if he still does.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, local guy.
Getting
Kind
back to
of.
Jim Schwartz, though.
Real quick, can I make one
Yeah.
Avon Lake joke? Caliendo couldn't afford Chagrin Falls.
I mean, Avon Lake is a really nice neighborhood.
It was like his fourth home. It wasn't his
February 8th. You can see all
Avon-
the rest of my jokes on stand-up at Hilarities. That's the official date. We'll send
Oh,
it
is it?
pretty soon.
I'm
we got a
telling
date
you.
now, February 8th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
February
We
8th
need
is
to
the
plug
official
that a little bit more.
well, Polk told me by the end of the week we'll have a link for tickets. We
Okay.
submitted yesterday the poster, the description, the name of the show. It is in works. February 8th is locked in.
And it's, where is it? Hilarities?
Hilarities on
Yeah.
East 4th.
Okay, so we need to start a campaign like hashtag pack hilarities. Or so I want that place standing room.
Standing room only, and we're also
You have-
donating all the ticket proceeds to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank.
Nice.
So it's for a good
Well,
cause.
there you
Great.
go. So you get a good
Are
show
you-
and you help feed the hungry.
Are you, are friends of yours flying in from out of town?
I don't know if they're. That's TBD. But that place will be packed. I know Anthony has friends flying up for his performance.
What is it, a Wednesday?
the Wednesday night. Yeah.
See, that's tough, man, because if
I know.
someone's going to come in from out of town, it needs to be a Friday.
I know. It's not ideal.
Yeah, but they're
they
not
wouldn't-
giving us hilarities.
They're not
They
on
wouldn't
Friday.
give us
venue on a
hilarities on a
Friday.
weekend. So it was the best we could do.
They got real comedians.
I
on
hope Mike's
Fridays.
friends that we taped the segment with that will never see the light of day, I hope they come in.
Yeah, I do too.
The most awkward segment. Thank
Eli
God
will
they're-
not be here.
Oh, my God.
Oh, we
We'll see
didn't
if
even
we get
see
Lee
him.
up
We
here.
just saw his nose, basically.
His ear.
Okay,
So
more
Jim Schwartz.
reaction on the Schwartz news
I-
conference.
as I was
yesterday.
saying before we brought Howard Eskin back, listen, winning press conferences is stupid. We've
Yeah,
been
it
through this
doesn't
a million
matter.
times. It's completely meaningless.
We've
We
done
all
that a
get
lot.
excited. A lot of fans are like, they're going to be a top 5 defense. We all hope that they are. And Nick's right. I want to know what the 3 losses were in the press. I think it was the Joe Banner press conference was one of the 3
Ray
losses.
Farmer with the towel.
Ray Farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But remember the 3 Stooges?
Yeah.
Who asked that question? Was that Dan DeRose?
Yeah, Dan
Somebody from
DeRose.
Channel 19.
Yeah.
Dan DeRose. Yeah. Anyway, but Jim Schwartz, as you said, he comes off as a head coach because he's been a coach for a long time. I do think what Howard Eskin said was very interesting, that it was maybe a little bit of an issue in Philly because Jim Schwartz still wanted to be a head coach, and he thinks that at this point that ship has sailed for him.
He's 56. It probably has
Yeah.
sailed
Yeah.
for him. The trend
Exactly.
of the league
I mean,
is younger.
but at the same time, we also have to just not too long ago, Super Bowl winning coach retired. Well, he came back in Tampa Bay and won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. And how old was he? He was in his 60s.
Oh, Gruden, you're talking about?
No.
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians.
Oh, right,
I mean,
sure.
everybody thought, well, I guess he's never going to get his,
Yeah.
And then when he retired
He's
in Arizona, He came back.
The difference is that Bruce Arians had never been a head coach before.
No, he was in Arizona.
Oh, in Arizona. Oh, yeah, good point.
So, I mean,
But
it
it
could
could
happen.
happen, sure.
I hate
true.
to close the door on it. I'm sure Jim hasn't either.
Yeah.
Look, if Jim's defense next year is a top 5
He'll
and
be
they go
Somebody might give him a
14,
chance.
13-4, some team's going to say, hey, he's 57.
He was
Let's
a candidate here in 2020 when they hired Kevin. He was on the list of candidates.
I wouldn't rule out the fact that he might be a head coach again.
Right, but you just hope that's not an issue because he said it might have been a little bit of an issue in Philadelphia.
Well, remember, he was 6 years younger then, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
He won a Super Bowl in Philly as defensive coordinator. I think he's very well liked there. He's beloved in Tennessee. He's been in Tennessee. He was a stint prior as a DC there before.
He was there like 10 years.
Yeah, and they sort of hit him because of their DC now and the optics. They didn't want look like he was encroaching on the guy. So he wasn't out for practices very much from the sounds of things. He didn't do a lot of
But he had
on-field
input.
coaching. But of course he had input. But my point is, like, how often are the coordinators known and liked in cities? Most of the time you want them fired. Most of the time you hate them.
Right, that's why they're gone.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
And well, as soon as you get to the point where you love them, so does everybody else, and
Right,
they're
and
gone.
They're gone.
Right.
There's 2 cities that I know of that really liked him and thought he did a nice job. And then obviously Detroit, he took the Lions to the playoffs, something that doesn't happen very often.
No.
So there is reason to like him, but they also had bad years. Like, his last year in Philly was not good, and he was fighting health issues and
That's
you
true.
know, had
And they
some
were an
other-
older team by that point.
Yeah.
So they were but the one thing that you never know when you hire a guy, whether he has a ton of experience or no experience, you never know for sure if it's going to work out. Ever.
Right.
Different teams, different circumstances. You have a coach in one spot, he's a genius. Another spot, he's an idiot. You know,
we've seen it a lot.
Whatever. However, what in general, the Browns have not hired a ton of guys with this much experience.
No, it's
Right?
not.
I mean,
it's
whether
not
it's head
in their-
coach or coordinator or anything, they
Jason,
had.
I can't think of another one.
Well, they had Greg Williams, who had a lot of
Greg
experience
Williams did
when
have a lot
he
of
came in.
experience.
Was Greg with New Orleans when they won the Super Bowl?
He was Bountygate. Was he? I would imagine he was.
I don't remember for sure.
I don't know either. But I mean, this is as polished of a coordinator that as we brought in, maybe since Greg Williams.
Obviously, Hugh Jackson had a ton of experience, not as a head coach, but he had a ton of experience as a coordinator. But just in general, most of the head coaches and coordinators that have been here in the last 10, 15 years have been low experience guys.
Very
guys.
green.
Yeah.
He told a story during the news conference yesterday about Malcolm Jenkins, who I think is everybody's favorite. Everybody loves Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think was really positive that I took away was he talked about a play where Malcolm made the play, but he was out of position. He didn't do what he was supposed to do on that play. And it was an end-of-game play, and everyone looked at him as the hero. But Schwartz had pulled him aside and after the game and said, look, you made the play. Congratulations, we won the game. However, I'm going to undress you in film breakdown tomorrow because you didn't do what you had to do. And Malcolm Jenkins said what you would want your superstar to say. Coach, you do whatever you have to do. I'm all for it. I want to get better. And that to me, Myles Garrett is not, we tend to think he's in the right place all the time. Myles makes mistakes. Myles has probably made mistakes that have really hurt the team at times.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Just the offside.
Now we have someone who's going to say to Myles to help him get better, not don't worry about it, big guy. You're an all-pro. That's going to happen. No. He's going to use you as an example to show everybody else on the team we have a standard. The standard is every guy pulling their part of the rope on every play. And on this particular play, Myles did not.
I think an important part of what you said there, though, is that he told Malcolm Jenkins that he was going to rip him essentially before he did it. Because I think if you're Myles Garrett and all of a sudden, like, everybody's been kissing your ass.
You've earned that.
You've earned, like, hey, Myles, you're awesome, but you screwed that play up, and we're talking about it.
I'm going to help. I'm going to make the whole team better by showing that
because
you
the
made a
whole
mistake
rest of the
too.
team is like, man, if he's
aren't
critical
kidding.
of Myles, then wow.
And I think we've talked about this on the show multiple times. Myles is a phenomenal player. There's more in there that they haven't gotten
There
out.
is.
Absolutely.
There's one more level.
And you know what?
There's games where he disappears, and he might make one big play at the end or two, but there's
And some of it is that he's got no help on the D-line.
some of it
There's
is.
no
And
doubt
some
there
of
is
it is. It just feels like he's not making the
But
impact.
the
that he
last 2
could.
years, you really couldn't make that argument because when you've got another bookend like Clowney, it's not like you have no help up front. There's another guy that you have to pay attention to. And I think to your point, and we keep showing the resume of Schwartz, and they're all interior defensive linemen, but the guys that have had unbelievable success. if Schwartz can do just this one thing, and that's unlock the next level to Myles Garrett, which I think everybody agrees is out there.
It's in there.
There is something more to Myles Garrett that we have not seen yet. If Jim Schwartz can get him to the next level, by proxy, the entire defense becomes better, and he's done his job.
Yeah, and remember, like, it's not like we're really being critical of Myles Garrett. The next level is the last level.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of guys that can't possibly get to that level. Already his career is at worst a borderline Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
But he could get to the no-brainer Hall of Fame level.
I don't want to take everything back to LeBron, but I had a really interesting conversation with him his last year here where I said, like, there's a difference in Hall of Fame and greatest of all time, and it's this.
Yeah.
And you know it when you see it. And Myles will be in the Hall of Fame. But he's not the greatest of all time.
He's not.
No.
He's not in that conversation.
No.
Because of this. It's
Yes.
this.
Yes.
And you know it when you see it, and that's where he has to get to. That's what
If he comes out next year and has 20 sacks and is a real disruptor, making plays throughout games, not disappearing for 3 quarters and then making one big play at the end. But when we watch, I talked about him early this season, about Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. He, I think, has taken that step to where it's almost like clockwork. When there's a big play to be made, there he is.
He's going to make it.
Yeah.
And TJ Watt has become that guy. And clearly Aaron Donald did it in the biggest game of all.
Right.
I want to see Myles Garrett be that guy, not just one game a season, but like every time we're close and late, this guy is getting free and making a strip sack, or he's doing something.
The last level is the consistency of greatness.
Right.
And I think that's why Jim Schwartz is here.
Yes.
Is to try and get that out of him.
And for that, we have to give kudos to whoever made this call. And again, it's preliminary, and we're all excited and ordering playoff tickets. But on the surface, nobody's moaning and groaning about this hire. I think they did as well as they could.
Right.
And let's see if the defense plays better next year under Jim Schwartz.
Now, obviously, they'll have some other players. It's not going to be the exact same roster, and so that's going to help too. But yeah, you would think this guy with this experience has a much better chance. And no offense to Joe Woods, but Joe Woods had been a coach for what, 8 years maybe?
Yeah.
This guy's been a coach for 30 years. So, and he's been a DC for a long time, and he's been a head coach, and he's won a Super Bowl, and he's been in a lot of different organizations. So it would just make sense that even if the talent was exactly the same, that they would be at least some level better, not necessarily top 5, but at least some level better, because he has a bigger toolbox to pick from because he's been a coach for so long.
Sure.